Hey, everybody. Welcome to the HR Intuitive Institute. It's been a while, but it feels great to be back to talk with all of you. We officially launched the HR Intuitive Institute probably about a month ago and trying to really have it gain traction. And I became very, very sick and essentially took a month hiatus. And now we're having technology issues, which is why you see the studio set up behind me rather than me being in the studio. This is like my typical podcast setup, but that's all right. It's good for today as we figure all that out. But I didn't want to miss another HRII because it's been too long, and I think that we need this. And the lesson for today is when you must change. It's lesson number 63. And we're talking about toxic workplaces, protecting your energy, protecting your time, and being intentional about it. And these are lessons that I'm still learning, but I find myself frequently sharing with others. So I think it's a perfect lesson that we wanted to share here. If you have not subscribed, make sure that you take time to subscribe to this channel. See if I can make this little subscribe button appear. Might take a few minutes. No? Come back. Maybe not. But that's okay. It's all right. Oh, you know what? I think I can make it. It's just all kinds of tech issues, getting used to this whole idea, there it is, of live streaming again. We brought back the 120-day Qigong challenge, so I can finish that up. We're on day 109, tomorrow's 110, so we're on the home stretch there. And then technology just hasn't been my friend, but I've been showing up, and that's been good. So let's get into these lessons for today. And as you tune in, if this is the first time that you're watching the HR Intuitive Institute, make sure you say hello in the comments because I would love to say hello back to you. And as we are talking about this topic, don't hesitate to ask your questions when it comes to change by entering them there in the chat because I can see everything in the live chat. And then if you're watching this as a replay, enter your questions down below in the comments. I'll be watching those as well, and we'll be happy to come back and answer those at a later date. So, yes, we're here. We're talking. Let's talk about change. So, the first concept I want to talk about is what is a toxic workplace. This is a term that in HR we use fairly frequently. But what I want to talk about in regards to toxic workplaces is that we have classified them as these really awful places to work, which is true. So really unsafe places, places where you're harassed or bullied or sexually harassed, like really toxic environments. But what we have been missing when we talk about that, which is really important from an intuitive perspective, is that there are toxic workplaces that maybe don't reach that level. And because they're not these really terrible workspaces where we are, by I guess traditional definition of being tortured in them, we believe that they're not toxic or that we should tolerate certain levels. Excuse me. As I have been working with individuals over the last I'm going to be entering my 7th year with Leadership Arts Associates. One common denominator that I found, and I found this within myself, is that when we what is the word? When we choose to say that that the toxicity in the workplace that we're experiencing, when we essentially undersell it, when we say that it's not as bad, and we choose to stay, we are still experiencing the effects of that workplace. And as someone who is intuitive, and as you build that intuitive skill set, you know that and you're allowing then that workplace to essentially influence you, and what who you are on a regular basis. So let me just break this down really simply. When I'm working with clients, the way that I see this is that the reason why they're coming in because they are disengaged from their job, they're questioning their worthiness. It is the result of being in a toxic workplace for an extended period of time. It's a result of being exposed to a toxic workplace and then carrying that baggage with them because they have the belief that it wasn't really that bad, because it wasn't these super terrible, terrible things. And I'm not discounting those terrible things that happen. Those should not be happening in the workplace. But the little things that happen in the workplace, particularly from having managers or leaders that are not doing their own work, do not have their intuitive skill set built, and also are processing, honestly, just a great deal amount of fear around their worthiness. The way they choose to interact in that environment is leaving these ripples that are basically toxic in nature. And as someone who reports or looks up to that leader, you are getting hit with those waves and they're having an impact. So I bring this topic up to say that I know that many of you who watch these videos or follow this work or are interested in the Heart Center are in environments like that, environments that feel toxic to you, but you don't want to call them that because you think that from typical cultural society judgment that it really is not that bad, that you need to just suck it up. When we build our intuitive skill set, we're trusting that our inner guidance is going to tell us when something is not taking care of us. And when we disregard that, we are choosing to disregard our inner guidance, and we start this disconnection, and this dissonance starts to occur. And when that dissonance starts to occur, that's when we start getting into disengagement or questioning if we're worthy, and it just starts to seep into all different aspects. So a toxic workplace is basically any workplace that is doing harm for you, that's not empowering you to show up at your best or your greatest good. So if you're working at a place, you're in a position that's maybe not the ideal fit, you're not able to perform and do that job, and as a result, you have supervisors and people around you that can't truly support you, that truly don't believe in you, but they keep telling you that, and you know that they're lying to you because the authenticity has disappeared. That could be toxic. So being in an environment that you know is not of service to you, is not nurturing to you, is toxic for you. And I think we have to move away from these overarching broad definitions of what toxic is in the work environment and realize that when it comes to toxic, it's an individualized definition. No different than harassment. What I might think is harassment, someone else might not think so. It's always based off that individual and if they are offended by the behavior, if I've asked for the behavior to stop and yet it has continued. And so toxic workplace, which hostile work environment, is a form of harassment kind of complaint. Hostile work environment is also that toxicity in a workplace that has reached extreme levels that you can file lawsuits and pursue legally. But at its core, these little things, if they're impacting you, you are in a toxic workplace. It might just be for you. It doesn't mean that you have to have everyone in that workplace mutually agree that that it's toxic. So, I guess that's what I have to say, and that's and I hope that's of service. A lot of the things, part of the HR Intuitive Institute is I'm intuitively being guided on what I'm going to share with you. And that's kudos to what the podcast was started as random ramblings. It was just this randomness, which wasn't random. It's my intuition speaking and sharing with you and trusting and knowing that those that are meant to hear that message will hear it and it will resonate with them. So the way that it's resonating with you is exactly the message that you need to hear. So the next question is, why is it important to protect my time and energy? And this leads into the final question about intentionality. But if I don't protect, if I don't value my time and my energy, and I'm just letting it go and do whatever, I'm basically choosing not to be intentional about my life. I'm essentially kind of wandering, which, I mean, if that's the way that you want to live, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. No one is telling you that you have to be purposeful and full of intention. I also know the people that are typically attracted to my work are ones that do want to be part of something bigger. And so if you want to be part of something bigger, if you're not recognizing how valuable your time, which we don't have infinite amount of time, we only have the amount of time that we have, and every minute, every second, we have the right to choose what we're doing with it. And if it's not of service to us, we're choosing that. And if it's not of service to us, then it could be something that's disservice to us. And every minute and every second, we're using our energy. And if we're not intentional and protective about that, then we can find ourselves basically one day feeling like we have no control over how we spend our days, and so tired that we don't have any energy to do the things that we truly love and cherish. So that's why it's important to protect that. If you want to be part of something bigger, you can't even get there until you choose to be really intentional about your time and about your energy. And so how do you do that? How do I become intentional about my time and my energy? The way that you become intentional is that you recognize that you get to choose every minute, every hour. So even when I look at my work day, yes, I have meetings, yes, I have interviews, yes, I have conference calls, yes, I might be on nonprofit boards, yes, I might be doing social media, yes, I'm doing HRII like I am doing with you now. I am choosing every one of those moments. And one of the biggest lessons that I got coming out of the stay-at-home mandate quarantine and starting to emerge now, but being in that true kind of pause in life allowed me to really reset my schedule and think intentionally, these are the things that I want to be doing. These are the things that are worthy of my energy. And the other things are not. And I'm going to say no. And that's a really scary thing, saying no, especially as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, even in the workspace. If I'm going to say no, there's a chance that I could lose my job. And so there's fear that's around that. But we have to move to a space where we recognize that if we intentionally decide to pick the things that are worthy of our energy, that are aligned with what we want to do in our lifetime and show up in the world and be of service, that is going to take us down the path, the journey for this lifetime of how we're meant to show up and be of service, putting us in front of the people that we're meant to be of service to. And that is a big shift perspective. If you're sitting there saying, I don't even know where to start, the place to start is starting to look at your calendar, look at your priorities, and recognize which ones you know without a doubt are not aligned with what you want to be doing. And maybe you said yes because you're good at it and the person needed help or the organization needed help or you had the time available. But time is precious and we can't just give it away. And you saying no to that opportunity makes space for the person who's truly meant to show up and help that organization or help that individual so that they can go there. When you fill that space at a half passionate level, you're only being of service at a halfway point where someone could come in and really just pour over and overflow in that situation. So start there. Start going through those priorities and being intentional. I did it. I will tell you that I have a newfound respect for individuals who I've reached out and we're working on projects, and I had one the other week, and They had to make a call. I'm not saying that they don't think that my project is valuable, but what they did say is that at this point in time, where they need to spend their time and energy is here. And I wholeheartedly respect that. So yeah. So when you must change is when you realize, number one, you're in an environment that is not serving you. It's actually causing you harm. And forget whatever definitions society or culture throw out of what is harm. You know when something is not good for you. You can feel it. That's what intuition is. You can feel it. You can't fight those feelings or those emotions. They're present, and they're present for a reason. They don't just materialize from randomness. It's time to make a change when you don't realize that you need to protect your time and energy and that it's precious. The time is a gift, and your energy, my big belief is that we're all called to be of service in so many different ways. And your energy's got to be in tip-top shape to be of true service. And it won't be unless I recognize it as being something really, really important and valuable. Finally, you must change when you're not being intentional about your time and energy. When you recognize that it's time to make differences. I don't have time for my spouse. I don't have time for my children. I don't have time to do the things I love. Yes, you do. The question is, what are you holding on to that is not serving you? That is taking your time and energy away from what you love. So that's it for this episode of the HRart Intuitive Institute. I hope you found this lesson helpful and of service. Like I said, if you're new, please make sure you say hello in the comments down below because I would love to say hello back to you. And if you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to write them in the comments so that I can follow back up with you. You can also email me at samm@leadershipisart.com with questions in regards to this topic or anything else that you've been pondering that might be very valid for a future lesson. So with that, I will talk to you next week. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful rest of your week. Take care of yourself. Sending love.